All right, and you are back inside the Now Morning Show. It's just about 13 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock, and somehow I thought Ruckus was going to play Peter Tosh's The Poor Man I Feel It.
Instead, I played Lord Relator's Food Prices. You know why? Because we're in Trinidad and Tobago, not Jamaica.
I don't think in Trinidad and Tobago, and I think music. I think everybody recognizes that.
Yes, but you
now.
oftentimes go to a Jamaican reference.
Because I think in Jamaica.
And I think in Trini, and we are on TTT.
All right,
Carry on smartly.
I've taken the Lord Relator. I've taken the Lord Relator because I can't do any better. Guys, we have with us this morning on Zoom the president of the Supermarket Association, Rajiv Diptee, because today we're supposed to be getting getting VAT removed from certain basic food items, and we just wanted to check in to see if the supermarkets were ready to give us our best prices or if the price just still gone up. Rajiv, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Natalie. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Pleasure to be here with you guys.
It's been a while. I like checking in with you once every 2 weeks. You know, we're going to have to fix this.
Well, Natalie, we've had vaccination drives. We've been doing 1,000,001 things, and you know that we've been doing our best to help the situation as it were.
Yes, I know. I know that the Supermarket Association has, especially when it came on to mass vaccination, you all kind of started the thing and have been at it since. So thank you so much for doing that and, you know, helping to get the people safe. But let's talk about the removal of VATs. Are the supermarkets ready? Have the changes been made?
Yes, I can guarantee that on the side of my membership that the changes have been made. Since the budget was read on October 4th, we had the time and we've been preparing in advance for the changes. We have been working closely with the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Trade, to ensure that these changes are enacted at the point of sales this morning, so that you're going to have a situation where when the customers come into the stores and they pick up the goods, that when they get to the cash register at the point of sales, that the items that have been VAT exempted are now void of VAT. What some of my stores have told me is that they would need a little extra time to get the prices on the shelf, so that when you go and you see the labels, those need to be changed out. Some of the advertisements needs to be adjusted in store, but certainly at the point of sales, all the items that have been indicated. And just to give you a rough idea, Natalie, I think it's about 3,000 plus items.
Wow.
So because in the schedule of goods, there's quite a lot. Spices alone could be 500 plus when you talk about spices and that kind of thing. So we are ready this morning, and I want everyone to understand that what is happening is precisely because of a global situation where escalating food prices have gone up around the world, and we're doing our best in Trinidad and Tobago to see how this can be managed for the average consumer whose salary has not increased, whose earnings may have been depleted from the lockdown, whose revenues may have gone down because he has become redundant in his business. And we are now looking at providing the best avenue for the customers in the store. It's also important to understand that we're a net importer of foods, and as such, as long as we're not making it, as long as we're not producing it, as long as we're not growing it, we will be buying it on the international markets.
But you know, Rajiv, one of the things that I keep hearing you say is that the consumer has the power in his or her hands. But somehow we're still seeing this appetite for things that are foreign. What do you think it's going to take for us to recognize that if we buy local, we may save ourselves a few bucks?
It's funny that you asked that question, because I was discussing it on a regional seminar with CARICOM officials 2 weeks ago. And the focus of the seminar was to purchase extra regional goods. Now, we've all heard about the container crisis. Yes. We've all heard that a container could cost between 15 to 20,000 US dollars to bring in from China or North America. So CARICOM has been looking inward. They've been looking towards each other to buy from: Guyana, Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, etc., etc. And one of the points made not just by the Trinidadian delegates but by the regional delegates is that the customers, especially here, they view the goods as inferior. And that's a big problem because Trinidadians have adopted a culture, in particular Trinidad and Tobago, has had a culture for very long where they have become very accustomed to the goods that they consume, the goods that they are accustomed to getting. And there must be a shift in the thinking, and there is an open concession that the culture does not change overnight. It takes time to adopt that mindset because it's juxtaposing the goods in the mind of the consumer so that, listen, this is something that is as good as the foreign stuff. And as long as the customer continues to buy the goods, I mean, listen, it's a market where we're in the business of fast moving consumer goods.
Yeah.
So when you're in that space and you're looking for quick turnover in retail, it's something that's going to be moving very quickly. So as long as it moves very quickly, retailers in Trinidad and Tobago and indeed across the region, as acknowledged, will continue to push it as long as it is available at a particular price point that the consumer will continue to buy it at.
Do you think we have quality control issues though? Because somehow we can't seem to move away from this perception that what we put out, it's inferior. So do we have issues with quality control or with checks and balances to ensure that they meet the same international standards?
Well, Natalie, truly it's an issue of scale. And by that I mean that we're a small island. In the larger territories, we have manufacturers or processors that benefit from economies of scale by making more and pushing it out to islands. There is more market. And in Trinidad and Tobago, for a long time, we've identified that the inputs for production was actually an inhibiting factor in the process. Now, we can make quality goods. I have no doubt about that. Can we do it in a competitive space when compared to what we could potentially bring in from abroad? That's a totally different question, as the inputs for production are also subject to the same variables that are in play right now with container shipping. And that, of course, will have an impact on the final cost to the consumer. So it's really a question of what we can truly make from scratch to finish in terms of the agro processing, the manufacturing aspects, and the holistic production of such goods. I have no doubt that we can provide adequately enough to our own food security in terms of import substitution. We looked at the example of Berry Cove in Tobago, where they're doing. I love what's going on there. The strawberries, the berries, etc., that are being produced for domestic consumption are also being produced for regional export. So it's going to be something that's going to fit into import substitution and at the same time provide a source of foreign exchange earnings. So it's more of that we need. We need to also understand that the space for agriculture, as it were, is not just the traditional models of give a farmer some land and let them plant it up. We have a lot of that going on in Trinidad and Tobago. We see a lot of farmers and a lot of crop producers making the same things. That is why the market is so saturated sometimes at the level of when you go to the market and you find the shadow benny, the lettuce, the tomatoes, everyone's growing the same thing. So the price stays low because of that reason. What we need is capital intensive farming, first world farming, truly in a smarter way. And I've seen some of those examples, and I think that route of private public needs to be pursued because for where our food security is concerned, there are avenues to tap at the moment.
Rajiv, I heard you when you spoke about being at that CARICOM meeting, but is this an opportunity for CARICOM to trade more, amongst its members? Because I have seen some opening up of the market, but to me, not anywhere close to what it could be. So is this an opportunity for us to do more instead of just sitting and chatting about it, but to actually get the wheels turning and start trading amongst ourselves?
Well, that was the purpose of the meeting between business business sectors in the region, and it was a very holistic breakdown when we looked and we examined what the region imports as a whole. And you would be surprised to know that some of the major traded goods in the region redound to the same issues that when we talk about the $6 billion import bill in Trinidad and Tobago, where cereals are concerned, where grains are concerned, where imported drinks and beverages are concerned. And you wouldn't believe there's a plethora of substitutes in the regional market. Are consumers gearing toward it? No. So you need what was openly acknowledged is that there needs to be a shift in the marketing of these products to the consumers, because the consumer is bombarded. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have a North American mindset because perhaps we consume too much of their media. We need to give our people an opportunity to experience some of that with some of the regional goods, so that what we're looking at doing is probably a few awareness sessions, and to be quite frank, it needs to be very focused and open up the markets to the mindset of the consumer, and that is not going to happen overnight, Natalie.
I understand that. But Rajiv, let me play devil's advocate, because one of the things we keep saying is that the power is in the hands of the consumers. But what about if the Supermarkets Association is to say, okay, cereal is expensive, whatever brand, we're not bringing this right across the board, all of us aren't bringing this. You don't think if you make the shift that the consumer too would also make the shift to consume something, one of those regional or local substitutes?
We must always be responsive to the consumers. At the end of the day, Natalie, yes, we might be the medium through which the consumers purchase their goods. However, if the consumer is the one that continues to pull it, it is something that, regardless of whether or not we decide we're not going to push it anymore, there are various brands of the same items that we're discussing about. And the thing about it is, once the consumer has that appetite to continue to purchase it, they will find it, if not by us, somewhere else, because somewhere else in the island, these items will be traded. And as long as there continues to be a demand for it, it's a business model that is dictated by demand and supply. As long as the goods continue to be available to the consumer at available price points, and people talk about food prices rising, Natalie, I want to make the very important point that the same people that are complaining about it are the same people that are still purchasing it at the stores. So it has not reached the point yet where, okay, it's gotten prohibitive to continue to put the product up for purchase. These people are still coming in to purchase same said product, and it's moving at a rate that continues to justify its existence on a shelf. So to me, Natalie, that answers a lot of the same questions that we're discussing this morning.
Well, let us hope that the removal of VAT on these 3,000 plus items, will make a difference to the people who are most vulnerable, because I think that's what the government is trying to achieve, understanding, what's happening on the processing line, on the what you call that, with the containers, and just how the prices have gone up, and just trying to bring some relief to the people. So Rajiv, I'm going to have to leave it there, but any final words before we go?
I want to thank you. I would like to say to the consumers that you continue to have the final say at the stores, and that we are really in a global aberration right now. We have never had a year like this on record. We will continue to make the basics available at the most reasonable price points that we can continue. And Trinidad and Tobago, I wish you a very good and happy Diwali, and I look forward to serving you in the Christmas period of the year. Thank you, Natalie.
All right, thank you so much. Rajiv Diptee, there, president of the Supermarkets Association, talking to us. And he says, if you even step into the supermarkets and you're seeing the prices still on the goods, don't worry. At the point of sale, you will get that 12.5% VAT removed from the item once it was listed in that 3,000 items listed, well, by the government. All right, so we still have more coming up. Don't move, we'll be right back.
Money today don't have no value, and if you argue, people going to say that you're funny. and tell you how